In this video, learn how a former part-time retail trader who blew up his trading account rebounded to become a firm prop trader. Hi, I'm Mike Bellafiore, co-founder of S&B Capital, and we're a proprietary trading firm located in Midtown Manhattan. And I'm also the author of the trading classic, One Good Trade, and the playbook. In this video, a firm trader shares his turnaround from blowing up his retail trading account to landing a seat on our trading desk. Let's get to work on sharing this inspiring trading story for the trading community so you can grow your trading account. So Scott, appreciate you joining us again and sharing your thoughts with the trading community. Can you please remind us about the last time that you presented to the trading community and where you were at in your trading?
Yeah, so the last time we talked, Mike, we had done a video after you reached out to me when I had taken a big hit shorting CODX back when the COVID names were running. And so we got together, did a YouTube video and discussed how that played out and lessons learned, etc. And so since then, I've basically been kind of grinding back, trading, and just continuously learning, studying. That's when I got into S&B DNA.
Let me just cut in a little bit. So you did a video, and hopefully we'll link the video here. You did a video, how a part-time profitable trader agonizingly blew up his trading account so you never do. And you shared that experience with us, which is not the easiest thing to do. And then you talked about, hey, let me come up with some plans for a comeback. And so since that time, can you walk us through what you've done since then?
Yeah, so to me, it's just a continuous learning process. So understanding how small cap momentum names run, and which, you know, there's times where there's small caps that run several hundred percentage points. And, you know, if you're shorting those too early, you can get really hurt. And just understanding how they operate, which is different than big cap names, was something really important that I learned out of that process. And to me, it's just a continuously learning, trying to understand how other traders trade, you know, how to be successful in different areas of the market. So that's kind of the main thing that I do, is continuously watch videos or read books and podcasts, etc., to try to learn and become a better trader. And, you know, I'm still a work in progress. I mean, I still have a lot of things that I need to work on to this day.
And since that time, you've since earned a seat on the trading desk, and perhaps you can walk us through how you went from that past video to now earning a seat on the desk. If you want to learn 3 more real-world setups that our traders use, including the simple setup that we teach all of our new traders, and the setup that turned one of our traders into a 7-figure big money earner, check out the free webinar that we're currently running. Just go ahead and click the link that should be appearing now at the top right-hand corner of your screen. That will open up the free registration page in a new window, so don't worry, you won't lose this video. You can also visit tradingworkshop.com to register for this free intensive workshop. You're going to learn more in a couple of hours from this trading workshop than from years of online education.
Yeah, so as part of that learning process, one of the things I did was sign up for the S&B DNA program to learn, you know, what professional traders do. And then so once I completed the S&B DNA, I got an email for the Winning Trader, which is a more detailed program to help you become a better trader. And so I took both those programs just to learn and understand more things about trading that I didn't understand at that time in my trading career. And then as a follow-on to that, there was an offer that sent out via email to participate in an equity tryout program for the firm, in which you trade a demo account for several months, and if you do well enough, then they offer you a remote trader position. And that sounded like something that I was interested in. And so I went through that process and completed that. And emailed the firm and kind of went through the process, and I was offered a remote trader position. And so I'm trading. This is my beginning of the third month trading for the firm, a live account.
Okay, and that's unusual. So most of the traders who we hire at the firm intern with us when they're in college, and then they stand out, and the best interns are offered a spot on the desk after they graduate from college. But one of the things we've done at the firm is created an education arm called SME Training, and one of the positives and benefits of SME Training is there can be a path for the most serious, the most dedicated of students, the most diligent of students, to interview and gain a seat on the desk and get their hands on firm capital and firm resources and firm technology. And so you are an example of somebody who, I guess there's a front door into the firm, and then there's a back door into the firm, or there's another way into the firm, or there's another way through the front door. And it seems like you came through the SMB training arm to get into the firm. Is that accurate?
Yes, it is.
How long did that entire process take you?
I think it was about a year when I started the SMB DNA to when I actually got hired.
All right, great. And so you now trade at the firm and you're trading remotely?
Yeah, I live in the Panhandle of Florida, a town called Crestview, and I actually haven't. I want to make it up to New York in sometime in the near future to kind of meet everybody, because it's different when you're just kind of isolated and not be able to see the other traders at the firm. So I definitely kind of miss that community aspect. I would like to connect in person with some of the firm traders.
All right, great. So you blew up an account that obviously didn't feel very good. You shared that with the community. You started to take some actions to come back and have another chance. I'm wondering, what helped you the most from blow up to being successful with your comeback, or at least being successful to get to the place where now you're trading on the desk?
Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing is just respecting the market and the market action. I still to this day struggle, and I just kind of want to kind of tangent off. Yesterday we had, I believe his name was Gleb, who trades on Team Shark, and he did kind of a, I think it's, these guys are good, yesterday afternoon, and something that he said really resonated with me. He said that when he started out, he was kind of putting on a lot of size when he probably shouldn't have been, and less, less than A+ setups, and so his thing was just going too big and kind of maybe impulse trading, where other people on the spectrum have a problem putting on size and scaling up. And I believe I fall on the same spectrum he does, in a sense that it's one of my things that I'm constantly dealing with is just putting on a lot of size. But when you do that, if it goes against you a little bit, you can hit your daily stop or exceed it. So it's something that I'm doing right now, because I've been profitable my first 2 months at the firm, but I've also had some days where I've exceeded my daily loss, and I want to fix that issue, but I just know it's a tendency of mine that I've got to work on, is to kind of scale back and kind of rein myself in unless there's really good setups. But I think that's the main thing, is respecting market action and just trying to be disciplined to hold off until the best setups are there. And that's not always easy, because you want to come in and trade because you want to make money, but if the trades aren't there, it's best to step aside or just really scale back. So that's something that I'm continue to work on to this day.
I'm not sure you're supposed to tell me that you went over your stop loss.
Yeah, I wanted to be transparent, so.
But we have a risk manager that watches that minute by minute, trader by trader. And so when traders start to come near their number, and when traders start to struggle with that, then there's a risk manager at the firm that really does work with the trader. The job of the risk manager is to help you. It's to help you to stay within your loss limits. It's to help you not lose too much on the days when you're not seeing the screens well, when you're just on the wrong side of trades, and just get you to cut it off and take some small losses and maybe even just say, hey, this day beat me. But then there's a lot of other days in the month where some of those days you're going to be seeing the markets really well, you're going to be seeing the screens really well, and we want to keep a lot more of those profits by making sure we don't lose too much on the days where we're just sort of not trading that well. And I know you play a lot of basketball, but there's times, if you play every day during a month, or 6 or 5 days a week during a month, there's just going to be some days you go out there and you just can't make a basket. You just can't make a basket. And it's not that you just didn't practice well, or you stayed up too late at night, or you did something wrong. It's just that's a part of being an athlete. You're just off certain games. And when you're a trader, the same is true. There's just going to be days where, for whatever reason, you get an idea in your head and it's just not the right idea. Or you're just pushing the buttons, you're executing just at the wrong spots, you don't have a good feel for the rhythm of the stock, and you're just off. And you want to make sure that those days don't impact your entire month too much.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the things that is really great about trading for a firm is having the risk management in place. Because there are days where you're just completely off, and there's days when you're completely on. And if you're off, it's even if the setups are there, you're just not seeing things right, or your mental state is off, and you do need to step aside and come back another day, and when you're in a better mindset's huge.
Yeah. And it's interesting you mentioned Gleb, because super ambitious trader, and I remember him wanting to start really fast and be at the top of the firm's leaderboard perhaps sooner than is possible. And that's a part of what we have to do here, is get guys to throttle back, get them to focus on building a really strong foundation, get them to focus on building their playbook, build a trader that is scalable, build a consistently profitable trader who controls their risk really well, and then from there we can add a lot more risk to that trader. I'm just curious, and you'll refresh our memory here. You blew up, I think you talked about this, because you were too big in a stock that you thought certainly ought to trade lower and just wasn't?
Well, I think the main thing was, yes, I was way too big in shorting COVID names when COVID was just starting to ramp up. And in my mind, I didn't think COVID was going to be a thing. And it ended up being a really big thing. And every mask-related stock and COVID-related name just had massive moves. So I had way too much size and just wasn't reading the market correctly. And in that situation, you see it a lot of times on Twitter, etc., where people, that happens to people, especially in the small cap names, because they can have such enormous moves. So it's even, I would say, more critical if you're shorting a small cap to control your risk and not oversize in those names, because they are so volatile.
So I'm sure there's plenty of people in the trading community who are going to watch this, who are retail independent traders who have also blown up or are losing too much on their bad days. I wonder, as somebody who's actually been through that, whether or not you had some advice for those traders.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to understand like who you are as a trader. And in my case, like I want to put on size, like I just want to put on size. And there's times where it's not right. There's times where you're too early or your thesis is right, but you know, it's not going to play out until tomorrow or the next day. So, you know, try to just be patient and wait until the price action confirms your thesis, and don't fight the market. That's really the main thing, is like you don't have to believe that it makes sense, but if you fight it, you're going to get hurt, especially if there's like huge momentum there. So I would say just be patient and understand where you have weaknesses and work on those. I don't think you can really, you know, fully change how you are as a trader, but there's things that you can work on to get better at those areas of weaknesses, whether it's being afraid to put on size or having a tendency to put on too much size when the time is just not right.
You said you need to put on size. Have you ever thought about why you do?
I think from my perspective, because I want to transition into a full-time trader, that I look at what I make at my engineering job and how much I need to make to replace that income through trading. So I have this, let me try to make this much money per day, per month. And so I end up, you know, if I only have this many, you know, couple hundred shares or whatever, and it does move, then I'm not going to make anything. Or so I think that's probably the driver in my current situation, is, like you mentioned earlier, trying to get too big too fast.
I'm curious, how would you describe yourself as a basketball player? And I promise there's a reason I ask.
Well, my son is a very good basketball player because he trains all the time. But me, I'm really not that great of a basketball player. I can shoot pretty good, but as far as the other aspects of ball handling, etc., but my son has a private coach and a trainer who trains him. So he's practicing multiple times a week and plays in tournaments, etc.
Well, when you were playing a lot, how would you describe yourself as a basketball player?
Committed, like I just would keep going. I guess grit, like I think grit's important. So,
well, Bill Bradley wrote in his book that you can tell more about somebody watching them play basketball in a short period of time than you can knowing them for long periods of time. That how you play basketball really says a great deal about yourself. I don't know if you've ever heard that saying or heard that.
So what, Mike, I'm curious, what is it about basketball versus, I guess, other sports? Is it?
Well, what is it about basketball? I do think there is something different about basketball than there are other sports, because it's a team sport, and there's definitive winners and losers quickly, particularly in pickup basketball. I mean, you really can tell a lot about a person if you go watch them play pickup basketball. You can tell a lot about truly the type of person they are, their temperament, their feel for fairness, whether or not they share the ball well, whether or not they play hard on defense, whether or not they call fouls fairly, or whether or not they over-argue on certain calls. And one of the things that Dr. Steenbarger has asked us to do as traders is think about what are the things you've been successful at in the past and why that was. You know, what are your strengths, why you've been successful, and why is that? And then start to think about building a trading career based off of your strengths, which should be consistent with your unique talents. So, for instance, if you are, and a basketball is a good example of this. Like, there are certain basketball players who take a lot of chances. There are certain basketball players who, will only take the open shot when it's a really, really good shot. There are certain players who are just really unselfish. There are certain players who are gritty. So it doesn't really surprise me that you found a way to keep working at this as a trader after having blown up, and you describe yourself that way as a basketball player. That seems to make sense to me. And so I was just curious about that because, yeah, I mean, I think we do, at a minimum, and maybe it's not basketball for you, maybe it's engineering, maybe it's something else you're particularly good at. But I do think you need to think about, hey, why have I been successful in the past? What have I been good at? Why was that? And then, like, let me think about that with my trading. Let me think about, so if I'm a particularly diligent person and I'm a deep thinker, and you aren't reading the research reports before the open for particular technical setups, that doesn't make sense to me. You should be doing that. You're not tapping into your strengths. If you're somebody who's just a really quick thinker, like Steve Spencer, who is my partner, is the fastest thinker of anyone that I know. He can give you an answer immediately. He's a really good short-term trader. Mm-hmm. We have guys here who, if you ask them a question, it will take them 30 seconds to think and 3 minutes to answer, no matter what the question is. Those are guys who are going to be diving deep into research and creating different ways to trade than hitting the buttons fast and trading in and out. And they have. They want to tap into their super diligence. And so that matters. And I think a lot of traders trade a particular style because they know somebody who makes a lot of money. I know somebody who makes a lot of money doing XYZ. I know Shark likes to fade a lot of the flow floats. He likes to take on a lot of risk. I see him make as much money, if not more, than anybody at the firm. I must go follow him. When he goes to the bathroom, I'm going to follow him. When he goes to lunch, I'm going to follow him. I can see his executions in real time. I'm going to unravel them, and I'm going to try and do what he does. And some people can, but maybe a lot of people can't because they can't take the risk that he does. They're more conservative. They can't draw down $250,000 before the stock's going to turn and make back $1.5 million. They just can't do it. It's not consistent with their personalities and their abilities to take risk. And then, there are other people who are just really fast thinkers who are trying to do this in-depth analysis of stocks. That's not what their strength is. They're not particularly talented in being overly analytical. They're good at thinking quickly. And what I always find funny about Steve, who went to the best business school in the country, undergrad, or one of them, I'll let other people debate that, is that when he trades, he reads a ton of stuff all the time. And if you ask him about companies, he knows as much as anybody. But he doesn't trade that way. He trades quickly because that's just the way he thinks. So anyway, you got me thinking about that. And so I thought I'd explore it with you.
I think it's really great. I mean, I've learned about myself is like, I have a tough time kind of dealing with intraday fluctuations versus kind of seeing bigger moves. And so my mind is more along what is the bigger move I'm seeing coming, and the intraday stuff really kind of whipsaws, and I don't see those intraday movements as clean as I do kind of bigger picture movements. And so sometimes I'll put on positions in intraday that go against me, and then it'll reverse and go up, because I have a pretty good thesis that's going forward, but sometimes I'll put them on a little bit early. And so it's just understanding, like, I couldn't be a really good scalper, I guess is what I'm saying. Like, that's just not my trading style. And just understanding who you are as a trader is really important.
I'm sure you've tried different styles as a trader up to this point. Is that fair?
Yeah. And I think there's elements of, shorting small caps and longing big caps. I mean, all that can be part of your toolbox, but I think there's also like things like, there's trades that may work, but they, might be so much frustration. Do you really want to deal with that? Do you really want to, deal with that type of trading? It might not be in your personality. It might be harder for you to execute and kind of affect your mental state, because your emotional and mental capital is very important when it comes to trading as well.
I think sometimes traders think, let me just go find one person, one trade, one style, and if I'm not good at that, then that means I can't be a good trader. And I can tell you here, we expose our guys to lots of different ways people trade. And I can tell you out here that there are people who make money in a lot of different ways. They all learn. They come in and they're taught a strong foundation, and they're exposed to different specific setups that work. But then we ask them to gravitate towards their niche and join a team that trades that niche. And then even when they're on that team, they're building from that. They're learning things that are new. And so, I'm sure you have learned from some pretty good people in the past who do make money and who are real traders, but for whose style wouldn't work for you. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And maybe some elements of their style do work, but I think it's also important to kind of come up with your own trade ideas and what you're looking for, because that's really how you learn. Because if you just, people talk about all the time about following people into trades, and that doesn't work, and it seems like it should work, right? But it really doesn't, because you have to know why you're getting in and why you're getting out. And whether you win or lose, that's a learning process that you develop. So it's important to develop the ability to kind of independently look at charts, look at setups, and kind of come to your own conclusions. And whether it's right or wrong, you're going to learn from it. But that's how you get better.
You are tapping into some of the resources at the firm. And you are definitely an unusual case. So you are not the typical firm trader by any means. You came in differently than most. And you're working right now. You earned the right to be given a shot. And now you're trying to figure out, hey, how to make this a full-time gig. So you're not fully integrated into the firm. Right. You're not on a team yet. You're not trading full-time, which is super unusual, but you earn the right to be given a chance. And so I think those are, just speaking realistic to you, you've done a nice job going from, hey, I blew up and I want to start a comeback plan, and being persistent and showing grit to get yourself an opportunity here. And now you sort of have to get to the point where you can do this full time and use all the resources at the firm. You're using the capital, you're using the technology, you're using the risk manager, you're using some of getting to know the traders and seeing what they do. So Gleb came in and talked to some of the guys. So you get to see that and see how he's doing. But you're still not using all of the firm resources. So I think that's going to be a challenge, which is if you're not doing this full time and you're not fully integrated, you got to come up with a plan that's going to work based on the time that you have and the opportunity that you have. And that plan's going to be different than other traders who get to sit in front of screens all day long and talk to traders all day long and are integrated into a team and talk to guys like Dr. Steenbarger and myself whenever they need to. So that's gonna be your challenge, and it's gonna be a little bit of a hurdle that you're gonna probably have to overcome. But you've overcome lots of others.
Yeah, thanks for that, Mike. One thing I did want to just kind of pick your brain with was, as far as reaching out to people like Shark or Gleb, is it appropriate to just email them, to Google message them on any questions we have?
100%. Shark always says, just reach out to me. And so if you need his email address, I will give it to you. Don't give it out to anybody else. But and if Gleb, same thing. I'm sure Gleb would be happy to talk to you and some of the other guys. But it's not only the best traders at the firm who people learn from. There are people here. There are senior traders that learn from junior traders. There are junior traders that learn from senior traders. There are junior traders who learn from junior traders. There are senior traders who learn from interns. There are junior traders who learn from interns. There are interns that learn. There's a lot of cross-learning that goes on. And, in fact, one of the biggest success stories that we've had at the firm, and certainly the best overall team that we have, cross-learns between traders. And so there's a senior trader who's taught a ton to junior guys, taught them how to really measure their trades and really execute properly. How to really execute much better. So that doing the same things goes from a little bit of edge to a lot of edge. And then those junior guys have their own trading systems that they had their own trades that really worked for them and then started working for them better because they got help from the senior trader. And then those junior traders shared the strategies with that senior trader. And then these guys started opening up joint accounts for lots of other things. And so the senior trader's making more because he's got new strategies. The junior traders are making more because they've got better execution strategies, and they get to team with the senior trader on different types of setups where they're trading together. And so, yeah, I mean, it's always good to reach out to the guys who have been successful. I mean, the biggest thing with that is, well, certainly what he does works. The question is, will it work for you? But don't always look for, and I wrote about this in One Good Trade. I distinctly remember the scene when we first started S&B Capital. There was a guy we brought on who was up and down, and he had one of the great weeks that you're ever going to have as a prop trader relative to his ability. I mean, he just was on fire. And this guy was relatively unknown before this week. He has this on fire week. People can see his P&L. He's lighting it up. By the end of the week, everybody at the firm is over at this guy's desk asking him what he's doing. And it turned out that guy never really made it, never sustained as a trader. And so, but you can learn a lot from even the interns here. The interns here are super bright. They're even teaching the big guys. So, yeah, we'll introduce you to those guys, but there's a lot of learning that gets done. Hey, go ahead and click our subscribe button so you don't miss any of the videos that we're producing for you in the trading community. And please take the time to add your feedback in the comments section for what videos you'd like for us to produce next and what you found helpful from this video. From all of us at S&B, train and trade well.